Hi, and welcome to the Dingers podcast. I'm your host, Mitch. This is episode 80. 80, boys. We reached the 80 mark. We beat almost like 90% of podcasts usually end before like the 20th episode. We made it 80. We're doing big things.
Huge.
Kevin, we're almost done with this year of teaching. How's that feel?
Feels amazing. Feels great. We're getting there. We had a good professional development day today. Had a good meeting. Shout out to Laura if she's listening, though she's a Cards fan, but she did say she actually watched an episode. Yeah, it's going well. The only thing that's kind of got me going right now is the iCubs Teacher Appreciation Day is Wednesday.
No, the Chicago Cubs.
Or Chicago Cubs, excuse me. Yep, Chicago Cubs. Teacher Appreciation Day is Wednesday, and I don't know many schools that are actually out already, let alone there's like a subs shortage. Like we pretty much are on like an embargo on taking like personal days. So can't even like take a vacation day.
I want to send them a letter like, hey, at least send me the coffee mug that you're giving out.
Right.
Like I would be there.
Would love to go in June, July, August, even like early August. It's too bad. But you know what is also too bad? I love Contreras hitting dingers, but I don't like him hitting them when Jake is almost catching me. I'm only up by one, Jake. How you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good, Kevin. Feeling pretty good. After I called Contreras hitting a leadoff bomb, he hits one deep to center field. I start standing up off the couch, and I was like, it's going. It did not go. But in the same inning, it did go, and it went way far. I totally forgot that he was that was going to be number 100.
Yeah.
To hit number 100, a grand slam.
At home.
I picked him. I had the first pick, and I picked him. I knew it. I could sense it today.
Good feelings.
75% of his grand slams came in the first inning.
Is that true?
He has four.
He has 4 grand slams.
That's a pretty wild stat.
And in the first. Like
Jeff, I didn't ask how you're doing yet. I'm still.
No.
Go right ahead. On
hey, you were late.
Was late?
I was gonna say.
You're a little late, Jeff.
Things are feeling good.
Podcast.
I mean, by your clock, it almost seemed like you weren't. The sun is shining. The weather is warmer. The ivy is green.
The ivy is green. It looks beautiful.
I threw my first bullpen yesterday, and the arm feels good. Baseball's here, boys, and I'm excited for the Cubs to sweep this homestand. Jeff, how you doing tonight?
Oh, not bad. I had a big weekend.
Tell us about it.
Well, I did a lot of yard work on Saturday morning, and then when I finally got a shower about 2, I went over and I worked my short game on a practice screen over at a golf course in Ames. Then I went to have a couple beers at a bar. My plan was to order some food from Pizza Pit and pick it up. And I wound up feeling like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber when that woman was talking to him and she wouldn't shut up. I finally just got up and walked off and left.
Well, that makes sense. You're working on the short game, and then you just walk off on a girl.
And 45 minutes, she was 67 years old.
Was her name Dorothy? Because I'm drinking a Dorothy from Toppling Goliath tonight.
No, her name was Margaret. Anyway, in 45
that sounds
minutes,
like old
just sitting
person
there
thing.
listening to her, she told me her dad was a physicist 98 times. I'm like, great, I got to go. But let's see, I made a kitchen sink for breakfast yesterday, and I also made another Chicago deep dish.
You did.
It looked really good.
Looked good.
Oh, it's glorious. I finished it off tonight.
Nice.
So, Mitch, how's the 8-under baseball team coming along?
Well, my arm's still feeling good. I'm still pitching really, really well. But this week we had a pretty marquee matchup. My son's team was playing the other best team probably in the rec league with all of his Storm team buddies on the other team. So they're stacked. And it goes where the kid gets to pitch the first 3 pitches. If he doesn't get a strikeout or they don't hit the ball, then the coach comes in and pitch. Both kids before the game So me and the other coach are like talking. We know each other. Both of the kids, my son, one of the other kids comes over and says, "We don't need you today, boys." To us.
Oh,
They're like
nice.
that confident that they were gonna like shove, and they're like, "We don't need you to pitch today. We got this." And my son did go on. He pitched really, really well. It was first time on the mound in a game, and pitched really, really well. Commanded his fastball really, really well through strikes. But I did come in and I got shelled. That team was really good. That team was really good.
That's when you just start throwing at him.
Yeah, I had to back one kid off the plate. I told him like he was really close. I was like, "Get back," and he didn't move. And so I was like, "All right," threw one inside on him. He backed up the next time because I didn't hit him, but I mean, had to send a message, you know. But yeah, I got shelled. One kid could absolutely smoke the ball, and he got me good. Yeah. How are you guys feeling good about the Cubs? They've won 2 series in a row.
This is awesome.
This is like
way too high. Way too high.
Right.
too high.
All
mean,
the expectations
crashing
are
down.
sky high again. We're going to the World Series, baby. All these guys can hit.
Well, I was like,
I'm feeling better.
we had the first
But-
series where like, okay, we played the Brewers. We kind of won that series. We're feeling pretty good. And then we've had like 6 episodes of kind of like, well, we kind of suck, but we got some spots that we can look into, and maybe we're going to do good, and some key players to follow. But then after going West Coast, usually West Coasts are like downfall. West Coast was like great things happen in the West Coast. So 2 series wins. Let's get into it. Let's start out by talking about our starting pitching, because for a big portion of this season, I would say that the biggest downfall or the biggest struggle with our team has been our starting pitching. One, they haven't been going deep into games. They haven't been giving us any quality starts, and we've been relying way too much on our bullpen, and they've just been giving up a lot of early runs. But in this series, we got great starts from Steele. We got great starts from Hendricks. Wade Miley comes back tonight and pitches great. What can we say about this Cubs starting rotation going forward? What do you guys think, Jake?
You know, I think there's something to be said about weather. We played in San Diego and Arizona in some warm weather, and the pitching played well. We kind of talked about it I think on the last episode that I was on, about cold weather playing a factor, specifically with Hendricks. I know that that's a narrative that's been, kind of beaten to death at this point. But it's been great. I mean, I will be the one to gladly temper expectations. Not so much for the starts against the Padres. I think despite them missing Tatis, and I think they have someone else out, they still have Machado in the lineup, and Hosmer's red hot.
Right.
So to take 2 of 3 against them is great. Should have been 3 of 3 if you ask me. But then the Steele start, as dominant as it looked, I'm pretty sure going into that game, the Diamondbacks had the worst, or going into the series, the Diamondbacks had the worst offense in the league.
You always just got to bring us down. We had a good series against Colorado. You bring us down. We have a good series against the Padres and against the D-backs, and now you're just bringing us down. We're trying to be happy here.
There's a storm cloud above Jake's apartment complex. It rains every day.
He's
Yeah,
a
can
realist,
you see
guys.
it back there? I am very happy right now, and we should be happy as Cubs fans right now. But I don't, and I haven't seen it on Twitter, so I think everybody kind of gets it. But like, that is the absolute ceiling that we saw from Justin Steele on Sunday. Was that just yesterday? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, the day before today was Sunday.
The day before today. Yeah. We're not going to see 10 strikeouts again from Steele. It's not going to happen.
What?
Well,
Well, they played the Orioles.
if he can, yeah, true. So I don't know. Like I'm pulling up, as you guys continue talking, I'm going to pull up the stats for the Cubs pitching
Okay.
April versus May.
Has anybody famous come from your hometown? Any of your guys' hometowns? Is it like anybody like, ooh, big famous person?
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Who, Jake?
Well, so I can't hang on. So
Like
there've been
actor or anybody famous?
well, so and I mean, I guess not like super. There's like a fashion designer that like women. I mean, like people in the fashion industry know. I shouldn't say women.
My
People
wife's
in
a
the
fashion designer.
industry
Who is it?
know. Is she actually?
She went to school for fashion design.
Cynthia Rowley is her name.
I'll ask her.
And Jay Cutler's wife, ex-wife, Kristen Cavallari. She's originally from where I graduated high school. And Dan Wilson, a former Marlins catcher, went to my high school.
So it feels good to have homegrown talent, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so we haven't had the long trip around. We haven't had homegrown talent pitching in a very long time. I don't know what that feeling is like, and the Cubs haven't known what that feeling's like for a very long time. But Justin Steele is ours.
Sorry, I'm still in awe of that segue.
Probably not since Turk Wendell.
What's great about it is the last lefty to have 10 strikeouts in a game. Do you know who that is? Last Cubs homegrown talent pitcher. Lefty to have more than 10 Ks.
Decades do we have to go back?
It was actually Rich Hill.
What?
Yeah.
Way back in the day. But not only yesterday did we have a homegrown talent pitcher in Steele, but also Scotty Efros comes in, homegrown talent, and shoved with our bullpen. And so, like, I love seeing that. I love seeing that we have a homegrown talent, what we've wanted for years. And I'm just going to let you guys know, we have a ton more in our minor league system. If you check out Myrtle Beach, if you check out Tennessee, like, check out Iowa.
Iowa's been shoving lately.
We got some people down there that are going to be – the Central better be ready because they're coming. And maybe not tomorrow, maybe not a month from now. Here in a little bit, we're going to have guys, and it's just going to be a train of those guys coming up that we're going to have a stacked bullpen and a stacked starting rotation. It's going to be all homegrown talent. But still, yeah, like 10 strikeouts, that's amazing. I don't think we're going to see that from him every start. The one thing we were kind of seeing a little bit different is, and what I've kind of been watching with Steele is he's been kind of a two-pitch pitcher. He has kind of the slider and the fastball. That's it. And he hasn't had another pitch that's been effective. And for him to be a starter, he needs to have that other pitch. And I feel like he's kind of is a sinker that he's been working on. And he threw it, I think, 20% of the time in yesterday's start. And so you see him with 3 mixed pitches. That he's way more effective that way of keeping the batters a little bit more off balance. And so hopefully we can see that transition to the next start and that he can kind of keep it up.
Right.
Did you notice anything, Kevin?
Not necessarily on the homegrown front. I did notice from Kyle Hendricks' last start, so not the one that he pitched 8.2, but the last start, he was lacking a bit in command, and he was struggling a bit. And lately, in the past, that has meant that he gets shelled. But he was missing outside instead, and so he was missing the bats, and he worked through it and put in a decent outing, an outing you'd take from your starting pitcher, especially when they're struggling a little bit, which was good to see. Everybody loved the start before that when he almost threw the complete game, and that didn't, 1 out shy, which I also like that he got pulled. They didn't try to like completely go for it. That would be cool history. I get it, but it's a young season to go out there and potentially burn up an arm trying to go for that.
You know what I've noticed with Hendricks too is he's had Gomes being the catcher the last 2 starts.
Yeah, they pointed that out on air. Rick Sutcliffe did.
And I think Hendricks even mentioned like something that's different. It's no knock against Contreras, but Gomes did a really good job of picking up what pitches the batters are taking horrible swings at. And then he used that like his changeup. I mean, Hendricks has a great changeup anyway, but his changeup usage, especially the last game, was crazy high.
Right.
Because he noticed that he was struggling with command, but he could still get some swings and misses with the changeup. And so that was used a ton. He just kept on going back to that well. But yeah, that we're seeing who Kyle Hendricks is. We can kind of throw out April. He's not really an April pitcher. And so hopefully we can kind of see that transitioning over. Do you have those stats, Jake, that you were looking up?
Yeah, I'm pulling them together right now. So they're definitely the starting pitching has definitely been markedly better over the course of May versus April. So the team ERA for starters is 3.47, which ranks 9th overall. The WHIP is 1.28, which ranks 18th, not as great. But compared to April, the ERA in April was 5.56, which was 27th. And the WHIP was 1.51, which is 27th. So from 5.56 to 347, from 1.51 to 128. I believe the xFIP, so fielding independent pitching, we're not a strikeout team, but the xFIP in April was 4.36, which was good for 27th. And I believe I didn't write it down, but I think in May it was like 4.35, so it hasn't improved that much. But again, we obviously knew coming into the season that our starting rotation would rely on good defense.
Right.
And I guess kind of what you can see in that is that in May, for the most part, we've gotten that good defense. That's why the ERA is lower. Because I didn't write down K rate, but I would imagine the K rate didn't change much because looking across the league, the strikeout rate is lower than it's been in years. I don't have the exact numbers, but they were talking about it on the broadcast. So I think as things warm up, we're going to see how the humidor plays a little bit differently, how offense might adjust. But at the same time, too, a little bit more humidity in the air, a little bit more stickiness. Like hopefully, it could work both ways, right? Depending on how hot it is, it could make the ball slipperier if the pitcher's sweaty. But if it's the right combination of temperature and humidity, like maybe the pitchers will get better grip, better location of their pitches naturally that way. And then, of course, we've got guys coming back from injury. Hopefully, I think we get Mills back, I think, by the end of this week,
Yep.
I saw.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if it starts go well, it doesn't have a setback.
Right. Yeah. And obviously, I mean, again, it's the Pirates, but Miley looked fantastic tonight.
Cy Young Award winner.
Yeah, he's going to win the Cy this year. So place your bets now.
Right. It's interesting you brought up that the defense has been the same, even though we've had 16 different guys on the IL right now, but it's still playing well for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, as long as like Wisdom, so Rivas has coincidentally seen more playing time at first, and you wonder if that makes a difference. Sutcliffe, for as much as he's talked, he has thrown some gems in there. I like him.
I love Sut.
Yeah. Some people on Cubs Twitter have been like, hey, take a breather. And I think there is some importance to letting the broadcast breathe. When, gosh, now I'm forgetting their names, but when the iCubs broadcaster and
Alex Cohen.
Yeah. And you guys had Max Toma on. What level is he again?
He is with
Smokies.
Okay. I think they were talking about
South Bend.
Oh, South Bend.
Yeah, South Bend.
South Bend. That's right.
I think Alex was talking about letting things breathe when you're broadcasting. And I think that's really important, something that I'd never really thought about before. So Sut needs to kind of let things breathe. But the one thing that he did say that I specifically remember, he called out a play where Rivas just kind of instinctually knew to let the second baseman, I think it was VR playing second base, let VR get the ball because it was kind of an in-betweener. But if Rivas had gone for it, Steele wouldn't have gotten to first to cover in time, and then you're giving up a hit. But Rivas let VR get it. He covered first instead. And you wonder if Frank doesn't quite have that instinct. And that's no knock on his defense. That is just maybe an instinctual thing, just reps, etc. So it's interesting that the defense has been better. Wisdom still making great plays at third.
Right.
But Rivas at first has been big. And I did some diving into outfield numbers when we get into talking about Seiya. Hap's been great. I mean, the metrics show that Hap has been very good in left field. So, ground ball pitching, it's not going to, Hap being great in left field isn't going to make, a huge difference in the Cubs ERA April to May, but it is worth noting nonetheless.
You know who's been really bad? VR.
Right.
I know we
pretty
talked a
bad.
lot, like last week or 2 weeks ago about who's going to get DFA'd. When you're ranking the worst in the league in almost like 6 offensive categories as well as defensive categories, you might be the first one when Nico Horner comes back. And now that we have Simmons in, like you might be the odd one out. Because I remember like 2 or 3 years ago, VR was like upper level defender, had a decent bat, and was really, really fast. And I've seen people on Twitter commenting that like, does VR look a little overweight? Like he doesn't look in the best of shape. Like VR was fast back with the Mets.
What
Like-
game was it where he booted like 3 plays at third base, like routine plays? This was it like Saturday's game, or was it a game last week? It was just terrible to watch. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah. So, but let's get into you bashing. Jake is going to bash on Seiya Suzuki's defense here a little bit because I said that Seiya Suzuki, after his amazing play out in the outfield to save a game with a diving catch, that he's the future Gold Glove Award winner. But Jake says that he's not going to ever win a Gold Glove. So let's hear it, Jake.
In my defense, I also
You hate
tweeted
everything.
that say I could win a Gold Glove.
It is
right after the
pouring.
play.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I've
You
got
hate
the
everything.
receipts, Kevin.
I don't read things. No.
So I'll preface. Actually, you know what? We'll go over the numbers first. So his outs above these are Statcast numbers. His outs above average is in the 34th percentile, which is not great. Just at the top of the lower third, and outs above average, not spectacular. Outfield jump at the 7th percentile, which is pretty poor. In all of outfielders, he ranks 44th in ultimate zone rating at negative 0.6. And he's actually behind Schwarber, whose defense has been knocked down in the past. Schwarber's got a 0.4, and Happ has a 1.9, ranking him 14th amongst all outfielders.
If
Now,
you listen to the
Ultimate Zone-
Compound podcast, Hap says
Yeah.
he hates defensive stats. So
I know.
I hate
and
all
that's,
these.
like,
I hate all these stats.
and that's what I was going to say the same thing. I also frankly, I don't really know how they measure UZR. And
They either caught the ball or they didn't.
yeah, basically. And I think Hap in that episode was talking about he was talking about how the WAR calculation or
Yeah.
something changed.
Yeah, it did change.
Defensive
Uh,
war. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of that said, I think that I haven't seen anything done in right field. Like I haven't watched anything and seen Seiya botch anything in right field. There hasn't been anything where I've been like, ooh, he didn't take a good route. Although apparently, of course, I think this was Fangraphs too. Like his route efficiency is not great either.
Right. He makes a lot of jumping catches and stuff like
But
that.
you have to understand, he is getting used to
Oh, absolutely.
these type of stadiums. Like in
Mhm.
Japan,
What I was
it's
gonna
all
say,
pretty
yeah.
symmetrical,
Right.
the same looking stadium. These like all the
Right.
different angles. Like I saw him like the other day have a couple bad bounces off the wall
Yeah,
in the corner.
Arizona. Yep.
In Arizona, it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean,
And I think it was Rick Sutcliffe even just said, is like, that corner is weird. And then the ball literally takes a weird bounce and rolls and then bounces again another direction. And Sutcliffe even said, he's like, Seiya was over there practicing before the game, trying to figure out how balls were going to bounce off that. And you literally can't tell, which is why he stayed back on it and then had to run farther a different direction to go get it.
So in that way, he's playing it smart, right? I mean,
absolutely.
The metrics might measure him waiting back like that as being poor defensively, but that's probably the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of nerds.
So I think Mitch, you're right. I think
all this is.
What'd you say?
he's calling us nerds.
I said it's a bunch of nerds making up numbers.
Yeah,
We
pretty
got
much.
some uppercase letters, some lowercase numbers, plus minus sign, slap.
They got lowercase numbers
point
out there. These nerds invented lowercase numbers.
Lowercase letters, uppercase letters, plus minus
Lowercase
sign, throw a
numbers.
number with a fucking decimal point in there. They call it a stat.
I think that the perfect bow on this conversation about Say's defense is what Mitch said, that all of the outfields play differently. And I don't know how many parks there are in the NPB, but he's got to get used to potentially play. I mean, he's not going to play in all 30 this season, but he's got to get used to 30 different parks and how the atmosphere plays as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think he's going to settle in just fine.
If he wins a Gold Glove, there is hope that Jason Hayward will win a Silver Slugger Award.
So but that means you're calling Say's defense as bad as Hayward's offense by that comparison.
Some of my favorite players had terrible defense. Aramis Ramirez, terrible at the hot corner. Big bat, terrible
Right.
defense.
Alfonso
Soriano.
Soriano.
I like it when things are interesting. You bobble it out, the ball, you drop it, you pick it up, you throw the guy out. Just trying to keep it close.
That's baseball.
Yeah, just knocking it down.
That's right. Keep it in front of you.
I don't know how to segue this, but Jan Gomes had a game, and he continues to have some games. And I said it at the very beginning when they signed him that Jan Gomes would be the biggest impact player that the Cubs picked up this offseason. And I mean, the dude had 2 hits tonight. I'll pull it up. Like he's just, the guy's awesome. To have 2 catchers that can both hit and both play above average defense, like it's gonna be a luxury that we're gonna miss if we do not extend Wilson Contreras.
Right.
Because we have Jan Gomes signed for the next 3 years. Like that is awesome. Like to have that in our back pocket. Like, no, Jan Gomes, and he's willing to do whatever we need to win ball games and to help the team.
So another nerd stat that they threw up during tonight's broadcast is that our catching duo has
Jan Gomes has 3 hits tonight.
781 OPS, 3rd in the majors.
Yeah.
Can't be that, man. Especially
I would bet
it's not behind the bump and he's DHing and Jan's back there. You know, you're not going to have a drop off. At the
I think that's been huge right there.
Yeah. I'd bet they're behind the Dodgers for sure. Will Smith and Austin Barnes has had an uncharacteristically good offensive season so far. And the second place team, I don't know. That's a good question. I can't think of any other catchers that are hot right now. But yeah, Jeff, that was a good pull too. I saw that in the broadcast as well.
Look at Jeff pulling out numbers. Look at you.
What a nerd.
I'm proud of you.
Jeff?
That's the first big stat drop you laid out there for us.
I'm gonna go to bed with a headache now.
I don't know where the headache comes from, but
all those lowercase numbers flying around.
He's having to squint at his computer.
Yeah.
Where are my glasses?
These numbers are too small.
You know who else is throwing out a whole bunch of lowercase numbers? Scotty Efros in the bullpen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
That dude can absolute shove. And if you're listening and you want, just go to Pitch Ninja, his Twitter. He is daily posting a Scott Efros, just absolutely filthy pitches. And Scott Efros just continues to just amaze me. He's turning into somebody that Ross can count on as a guy in the bullpen, as a setup man, getting in high leverage situations. He almost trusted him to get 2 full innings or to finish the 8th and into the 9th yesterday. Man, he's tied for 8th in FWAR out of all relievers. He's in 8th place in FWAR.
That 10.62 K per 9.
Yeah, 10.2 K. Almost 30 big league innings. He's getting 10 strikeouts per 9 innings and a .61 base on balls. The guy doesn't walk people, and he gets a lot of swing and misses.
When you say F4, is that F? Is that a lowercase f? And
yes.
It's or all in caps?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. You should
There's
see
also,
the calculation.
Jeff, to make it more confusing, there's also B war, and that's a lowercase b.
But
that'll be where it's irritating.
Differentiating for our listeners really quickly, F is Fangraphs, the website Fangraphs, and B is Baseball Reference. They both calculate WAR differently. I say that's for the listeners, but that's really for Jeff.
That's all that means. With the stat.
I also love Efros's story. He was on the last week's Compound episode, and without saying it, he said the Cubs kind of came to him and said, you need to change something up or we're letting you go, because he was an over the top thrower. And they said, we think you might be able to do sidearm. Would you be interested in doing that? And he went down and worked on it. And then he just skyrocketed through the rest of the minor league system afterwards. And look what he's doing this year. I mean,
And,
it's
like,
a cool story.
What he does, nobody else in baseball is doing what he's doing. Like the angle that he's throwing and the spin and movement that he's getting. Like there was a stat that the guys from CHGO laid out today about Efros's slider movement and how it has an up, like it's almost looks like it's gonna rise, and how it goes across the plate at a weird angle that it, like, he's in the 99th percentile, that nobody else in baseball does that. Like that's something that like is special to have in your bullpen that nobody else. This is something that no other professional baseball player sees coming at them. There's so many people that are throwing out the same arm slot, getting kind of the same type of movement. They say, yeah, he looks like this guy. We saw this guy a couple weeks ago. He looks like him. Nope, not with Scotty Efros. It's coming out with something way different. And like, what's just amazing, he has 35 strikeouts and only 2 walks in almost 30 innings of pitched baseball this year.
I feel like we just jinxed the poor man.
Right. Now he's going to give up some runs, but
I knocked on wood. But yeah, let's
Jeff
get
knocked on his
into.
head for the
I do
viewers
want to
at
say
home.
that I miss Nico Horner and have been praying daily for his ankle. I fasted one day.
Man, how many different people is he going to run into on the field? Totally not his fault,
Well,
but like, I mean, he ran into
that
Hab.
umpire needs to be
Right.
lose his job.
I just like, he already had people had some injury concerns about him, and then he runs into the umpire.
Yep.
Oh, come on.
Well, let's end this episode by talking about Wilson Contreras, because we are going to put out 2 episodes this week. So if you're listening, I have an interview with Caleb Killian tomorrow, and that episode will drop on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. So, but let's end today's episode talking a little bit about Wilson Contreras. The dude has been an absolute tear. We need to extend him, and he continues his hot tear by, again, hitting a dinger grand slam tonight. So, Jake, what do you got? Because I know you've been itching to talk a lot about Contreras.
I don't even want to get into the stats, Jeff. I'm going to appease you, Jeff. I'm not going to nerd out.
You can talk now. Go right ahead. Talk numbers.
The catching position is typically a net negative offensively in Major League Baseball. And a good WRC plus, here's a number for you, Jeff. A good WRC plus for a catcher is like a 90. So 10% below league average offensively. If you can get a guy that's like scratching 100, you're doing really well. Wilson Contreras, in his, how many seasons we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll call it like 6.5. 2016, he played 76 games.
In 2020, it was a half.
He has, yeah. So he has one season. His worst season is a WRC plus of 101 in 2018. And then it's 108, 109, and then 122 and up in the last 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons. His total MLB for his whole career, his WRC plus is 116. He's averaging 260, 351, 459 with an ISO, so an isolated slugging percentage of 199. That is nuts for a catcher. That's nuts for any player, but that's nuts for a catcher.
How do those compare to, like,
you are not going to get that.
Right.
Can you compare, like, the old, like, because to me, like, the best offensive catcher for me, I guess, is Johnny Bench, and reading about him from the Big Red Machine of the 70s. Like, I really can't, like,
let's do.
I don't want to say Jorge Posada. Makes me.
I'm going to do a contemporary. I'm going to do a contemporary comparison here. So, like, I'm looking at last year's AL MVP Shohei Ohtani. So he had an ISO last year of 215. He slashed 257, 318, 472 with a WRC plus of 129. So to compare that, Wilson's WRC plus for his career is 116. So
Just
again,
a hair
very good
under
for a catcher. Yeah, and his ISO was 199. I mean, he's got his 2019 season. He had an ISO of 261. So like we're cherry picking here, but like the fact of the matter is, you are not going to find this offensive production at catcher again. Like my friends were texting tonight saying, we will not have an offensive catcher again in our lifetimes once Contreras is gone, and that's probably a good bet. Like,
Jan Gomes, he's 3 for 4 tonight.
right.
He's also 37 years old.
So if they extend Wilson, do you think he has a chance to catch Gabby Hartnett as the Cubs' career catcher with most home runs?
What was the number? Do you know the number offhand?
231.
Oh, 231. Ooh.
Gabby Hartnett, 231. Jody Davis with 122. Willie.
He'll catch Jody maybe.
Yeah.
If he sticks
he'll
around.
definitely catch Jody Davis. He might catch Jody Davis this year.
Right.
Good.
Depending on how the ball plays this summer.
Yeah.
Long gone summer, maybe.
I balls the All-Star break to pump up the offense.
Yeah. Right. And I will say, so I tweeted extend Wilson Contreras by the All-Star break when he's starting catcher for the NL All-Star team. And someone said extend him tomorrow. And like practically speaking, they're probably not having extension talks. Well, I guess he still has I don't know if he's had the arbitration hearing yet.
No, I don't think he has.
I feel like we would have heard about that. So like technically they might still be in talks about a contract extension. Probably not. But I think that, when both sides are kind of taking a breather at the All-Star break, the front office is assessing the trade deadline coming up. That's when it should happen. And
well, I think
I don't have my hopes high, but
I do think, for the front office, they need to listen to what is he going to bring if he were to be traded. Yeah. Just to assess his value. That's smart business of like, what could we get if we had Contreras out there? And is that better than keeping him for the long term? Because you look at the stats of what he's providing, I don't know long term if we do trade him, if what we get is going to be better than what he's going to provide. Because he's the best catcher in the game right now. And I don't know if he's going to get if other teams are going to value that and give what we should be getting for him.
You might get players back who are good, above average to pretty good at their position, but you're regressing at catcher so much that you have to ask, like, is that really worth it?
Yep. Well, Gordon Wittenmeyer decided to start the rumor mill early and sent out a tweet that the Mets are interested and could be exactly what the Mets need, which the Mets are good. They have a good ball club, and it could be fitting there really good. But do the Mets want to play a trade game with us again? Because we kind of robbed them last year of PCA, and they didn't keep Javi. So I don't know if they're going to want to come back to that well and try to take Contreras. Because, we basically just stole Pete Crow Armstrong from the Mets last year. And I'm willing to do it again as long as we sign Contreras.
It's worth noting that they're top.
What were you saying?
Sorry, it's worth noting that their top prospect, the Mets' top prospect, is a catcher. Francisco Alvarez. He's 20 years old. Let me look at his like projected numbers here. He's got a 60 hit tool, 65 power tool, 60 arm tool, overall 60. So that's on an 80 scale. So that's really good. That's really, really good. And he's having his last two seasons, 2019 and 21, were really good. Slow out the gate here in 2022 with a 783 OPS, but man, if you could pry their top catching prospect and they
Right.
pull, like a sign and trade with Contreras like they did with Lindor, I'll take that. I mean, I think you got to get, because we don't have a catcher in the system right now.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. But
Thought that'd be cool. I'd take that. But it's got to be that
Yeah,
level
I
of
don't-
return, I think, in my mind.
well, let's not talk about that
Yeah.
because they're going to keep him and
He's
extend
the
him at the
third-
All-Star
he's the
break,
number
like
3
Jake said.
catcher yeah, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
For what's worth, Francisco Alvarez by MLB Pipeline is the third number 3 catching prospect behind Adley Rutschman and Gabriel Moreno of the Blue Jays. So pretty good. Pretty good.
Well, I do want to kind of end this with the Cubs played great out west, but looking forward, they have 3 games, which they're 1 out away right now, currently on Monday night from picking up a win against the Pirates. They play 2 more versus the Pirates, and then they play 3 with Arizona at Wrigley, and then they go to Cincinnati for 4. This is a stretch where the Cubs could get very hot and can win a lot of ball games. So let's go and do that, Cubbies. Let's go and go on a hot stretch. Let's go get back into this and let's get ahead of the Pirates in the standings and push the Cardinals.
Right.
Now's the time to one, it's starting to heat up. People are wanting to attend baseball games. Get Wrigley hopping, get people to start attending, get on a little stretch of winning some games. That's gonna fuel Cubs fandom to go to Wrigley. If they don't end this month strong, there's going to be a lot of open seats in Wrigley Field when it comes June and July. And so they need to do something to show the fans, whether it's play on the field or extending players, that they're still going to make an effort to build something here. And it could be maybe them bringing up a Caleb Killian, bringing up some guys in the minors that are doing big things, which there's a ton of them. So yeah, let's go on a little hot stretch. What do you say, guys?
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
We need a nice, winning streak.
You know what goes well with a hot stretch? A nice, refreshing,
beer.
toppling Goliath beverage. At your beverage depot of choice. I love Sudosu.
I got Jeff's ex-girlfriend, Dorothy.
No, it was actually Annie.
Annie?
Annie, are you okay?
Nice.
Well, yeah, like I said, stay tuned for Wednesday. I'll be having an interview with Caleb Killian. Looking forward to sitting down and chatting with him. So looking for that to drop on Wednesday. But yeah, that does it for episode 80 of the Dingers podcast. The Cubs did just pick up the win. So fly the W, go Cubs go, and all the things. Thanks for listening. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Dinger Cubs. And yeah, go check out our YouTube channel, Shy City Sports YouTube channel. All right. Thanks for listening to episode 80 of the Dingers podcast.